Hello and welcome to Soundout's Heroes of the Grid Showcase. This is the series chronicling all the characters found within the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid tabletop game by Renegade Studios. I want to go into every ranger and villain within every expansion box and tell all of you my personal experiences as well as the strategies I think is best when using these characters. So without further ado, let's begin. The Shattered Grid box is this nice specialized Shattered Grid logo, which I really appreciate. It's a little bit thinner, and the base game, of course, doesn't include as much. It just still says ages 14 plus, 2 to 5 players, 45 to 60 minutes. It does have a sticker on the outward shrink wrap. It does say requires Heroes of the Grids to play, but I'm glad they left it off the art because most people, once they open it, already know that they need it. But there's Jack and Vesper on this side. We've got Marv and Eddie on this side. And on the top, we've got the Hyperforce Rangers going to battle with Lord Draken, alongside Jen, Lauren, and of course a horde of Mastodon Troopers up top. Opening the tray, I thought it was actually kind of interesting, was that on the inside of the box, we got some art of Jen and Jack on one side. We've got Ranger Slayer a few times there doing a flip. Also Marv, and then Eddie and Vesper, and then Black Dragon, Lauren, and the Mastodon Troopers. Everything's nice in one tray this time, since there's not as much included, but very nice packaging as always. So the first thing we get in the Shattered Grid expansion is the Time Force Headquarters Command Center. Now this actually replaces the normal Command Center tile in the center of the board, and it actually has a different effect. One which you could probably choose to use. It does actually have a specific ruling, but if you say which one at the Time Force Headquarters instead of the Command Center, but wanted to use the same Command Center function, I'm sure you can. It's a board game. Also does have an assault mode for Command Center Assault. But as you can see here, we got the Transport Megazor, the Time Gate, the Time Ship, the whole Time Base. I have all of this as a Super Sentai Mecha. It's pretty neato. So this is really cool. I actually didn't know about this ahead of time. As you can see in my live reaction of the unboxing of this set. Yeah, kind of shocked by this. It's pretty cool though. The Time Force HQ official rules are as follows. Time Force HQ is a new location board that can be used instead of the Command Center. It offers a different benefit to the Rangers. At the start of each action phase, each Ranger at the Time Force HQ may immediately transwarp. This allows them to move to another location of their choice without spending an action. Rangers cannot power up when they move to the Time Force HQ. That benefit only applies to the Command Center. So it actually kind of works out in gameplay, is that a lot of the times what we'll do is at the end of the turn, if we have an action left, Rangers and I should say, if we have an action left, we'll move into the, the Time Force HQ. Then at the beginning of the next round, we see the monsters deploy, we can just move to straight away. So that's kind of the strategy there, but you do lose the power-up function of being able to reload all your cards. So 50-50 on how you want to use it, but it does add a level of strategy to the game. The Shattered Grid expansion includes 7 Rangers, the most amount in a single box so far in the game, and there actually is a lot of cool variety here. First up, we have the main 5 Hyperforce Power Rangers. Now, the Hyperforce Rangers came from the Power Rangers Hyperforce live RPG series by Hyper RPG. It featured several returning actors and voice actors, internet personalities playing out a Dungeons & Dragons styled D6 RPG game. Lasted 1 season. I really wanted a season 2. Took me a while to watch it, 3-hour episodes and such from a live broadcast of a tabletop game. So I really did enjoy. I love the stories, I love the characters they introduced, and it's nice to have physical representations of them. And this is the perfect way to do it. Hyperforce is a tabletop RPG series, even if you never see the tabletop. So putting them in a tabletop miniature game, it makes perfect sense, and I'm so happy. And I really want a Hyperforce Green, and maybe a Time Force Silver as well, but we'll see if those are in our future. First up, we have Hyperforce Red, Marvin Shi, played by Peter Sudarso, also Ninja Steel Blue Ranger. So he's pretty cool. Put there with his Impetus Claws. We've got Eddie Banks, played by Andre Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy. Really cool that he got to become a Ranger. I know that was a special moment for him and a lot of others. It's kind of neat seeing him at Morphicon. He was They dragged him into the Blue Ranger panel, and he didn't expect that. I also like having the Hyperforce morphers visible here. I think that's pretty good. Also, this is like some of the most official things we got in other weapons. Like, we've been described their weapons in Hyperforce, but this is actually the first time we've seen them properly. But that's his Oceanus Trident. Pretty cool. Dropped him over here. We got Vesper Vasquez, played by voice actress Christina V. She's got her Cerberus shield. I think it's the Cerberus shield. I'm probably messing that up. We'll figure it out when we get to cards. Very cool. Very awesome, too, for the fact that she is the first female Black Ranger, which is really awesome to see. Now we got a little figure of her, which is great. Jack D. Thomas, played by Paul Schreier, who, of course, was Bulk in Power Rangers. Very nice. This is probably one of my favorite characters of the board game. I really did like Jack in Hyperforce. I do like a lot of his moves. I've been trying to get a hang on some strategies with him, but he's pretty cool. I love that he's really stocky, really beefy, has the big old Creus hammer. And then lastly we have Chloe Ashford, who is played by Megan Cameron, who is Strawberry 17. She did great job as Chloe. She also done a great job voicing Kimberly in Battle for the Grid, as well as the Shattered Grid live read. So props to her. If they ever do some animated Power Ranger stuff with Kimberly, bring her back, because she's great. She really is great at capturing the essence of that character. And here is her scythe. I forget the exact name of it, but pretty cool. It's a scythe user. It should be straight. They did a softer plastic on this. So due to the nature of production, this is something I could straighten out with some boiling, some molding, but very nice. So those 5 aside, the other 2 Rangers in the set are Legendary Rangers. First up, we have Jen Scott's the Pink Time Force Ranger, who debuted way back in 2001, so this is we're nearing almost the 20th anniversary of Time Force, but she's the only Time Force Ranger so far in the game. But I imagine if we ever got a Time Force Ranger pack, there'd probably be an alternate version of Jen. Here's her with her V5 blaster, looking pretty awesome, just ready to fight. I love playing as Jen in this game, and we'll get more into that with her cards. But it's cool because she was in the first episode of Hyperforce, acting as kind of a ranger mentor for the characters throughout the series. And then lastly, we have Lauren Shiba, the Super Samurai Red Ranger. Now this is really nice because I think it's the first Lauren Shiba figure to be released officially in the US. There was a 4-inch figure planned, but I think it only came out in the UK and other regions, not the US itself. So this is really nice to have. Mine has an incredible lean on it. I've tried to fix. I feel like it should be like this, but the tray keeps molding her back like that. So keep that in mind. Maybe she is just supposed to be leaning that far over, but I feel like that would be a more natural stance. So something to keep in mind, but overall, pretty nice figure. This is the nice, I think it was the next to last stretch goal, and it got added to all the retail versions of Shattered Grid as well. So pretty awesome. I love this lineup of Rangers.
Hyperforce, red, ready, power up!
So first up, we have Marvin Shee, the Hyperforce Red Ranger. His character card reads as follows. Determination. Once per battle, you may either discard 1 card to gain 1 energy, or spend 1 energy to draw 1 card. This is actually pretty handy, just because you can kind of either augment your cards or augment your energy, depending on what you need most for a battle. This is, of course, have the same character backings on all the cards in this box as we've seen in others. And I do like how it was the official Hyperforce art used for the character cards. This is some new art here of the Lion Hyperzord. Reminds me a lot of the Voltron Force Red Lion for Hyperforce Red. Exhaust this card when any ranger performs an attack to convert all missed results to hit results. Pretty handy overall. I really do like this Zord in particular. Also note the SG for Shattered Grid, so you know which box this came from. Of course, the Megazord in the back. Reading up on his deck, Marv's deck has a lot of zero-cost cards, and many of their effects are designed for gaining and spending energy. He is able to boost many attacks with extra dice. So let's start that off with Defensive Stance. There's 2 of these, by the way. All the sleeves in the video were purchased by me, not included with the set. That is my disclaimer. That is all. 0 energy cost. Reaction. It's actually wrong. This should say Maneuver. Or no, this is the reaction. This is correct, I think. Yeah, no, this is the one that's wrong. Okay, so this should say maneuver, not reaction. Reaction, something has to happen first. Maneuvers are supposed to be just simple actions because it says gain 1 energy, draw 1 card, then place this card on top of your deck instead of discarding it. This is really handy, but it is maneuver. So this is a misprint. I think they said they're going to be setting up something to get these replaced for everyone. They haven't been able to get those replacements in yet. This is a 3 shield card, so that's pretty good overall. Find weakness, 0 energy cost. Maneuver, gain 1 energy. The next time any ranger performs an attack during this battle, add 2 damage to that attack. Pretty handy. Good leadership rolls for him. 1 shield though, so keep that just rolling through. There's 2 of those. Next 0 cost card is Impetus Blaster. Should I pull out here? Impetus Blaster is his claws combined into a blaster form. 2 of these. 0 energy cost, attack of 2 dice. Before rolling, you may spend 1 energy to add 1 die to this attack. And it's 2 shields. This is pretty good. This is a pretty good 0 cost card. Then next up is Double Slash. 1 energy cost, attack of 2 dice. After you resolve this attack, you may discard 1 card from your hand to perform a second attack with 2 dice, targeting a different enemy card. This is actually going to be really handy if you just want to be able to throw out a card and get double the attack in 1 turn. That really helps overall. His level 3, the 3 cost Impetus Claws, attack of 3 dice. After you resolve this attack, you may perform a second attack with 2 dice. Then you may perform a third attack with 1 die. This is pretty nice, like a scaling thing. It's like 3 dice to 1, 2 dice to another, 1 dice to another. In fact, because it does say that it's a second attack, you don't have to perform it to a different opponent. You could actually knock out like a 8 health card with your 6 dice rolls there, basically. So that's pretty nice. And then lastly, we have Blade Blaster. Blade Blaster works just like the Blade Blaster from the base game, which is an attack special. This attack deals the amount of damage equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. You may divide this hits among any number of targets. This is just the Hyper Blade. This should say Hyper Blade Blaster, so that's what they officially called it. But that's actually our first look at that at all, which is pretty cool. So there you go. That is Marv's deck.
Hyperforce! Blue! Ready! Power up!
Next up, we have Eddie Banks' Hyperforce Blue Ranger. Effect, Technician. Once per battle, a ranger of your choice may place up to 3 cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck. Then draw an equal number of cards. Pretty handy, especially when you're in the middle of a battle and you're having trouble with your hand just not being something useful. Serpent Hyperzord, Hyperforce Blue. Exhaust this card during a battle to flip up to 2 Foot Soldier cards face down as though defeated. Do not remove any Foot Soldier figures from that location. This basically means you don't have to fight 2 cards, or you can just avoid their effects entirely. Which also means you can't fight them because they're face down. So it's like defeating them, but they don't get removed. That basically is how that works. Eddie's deck is built around attaching cards to enemies to add additional damage on the resolution step. Other cards support the team. Basically, a lot of his cards work in tandem with others, which is actually pretty cool. He works sort of like Billy in that way. Oceanus Blades. These are the blades off his trident, which is pretty cool. Attack 2 dice. After you resolve this attack, you and another ranger of your choice may each draw 1 card. Pretty handy. Helps out the team a lot. Coiling Viper. 0 energy cost. 2 dice attack. After you play this card, place it on top of your deck instead of discarding it. That actually really helps because then you have, and there's 2 of these, you already know you got 2 shields, so that's going to be good to know for upcoming, damage take. And then next up is Serpent Strike. Really love the art on this one. Maneuver. Gain 1 energy. Attach this card to 1 enemy card. After that enemy card resolves, deal 2 damage to that enemy card. Plus it's 3 shields. There's 2 of these. This is actually pretty handy because essentially what it does is that if you have an enemy card that's come up, Foot Soldier card's probably your better example for this, but if example, we have Black Dragon, or Black Dragon's Black Claw, which is a health of 4, you attach this, and then when the deal 5 damage comes up, it turns, it throws 2 damage on this. You could have multiple cards attached to that, and that basically would allow you to instantly kill this while also taking the 5 damage. So it kind of gives you some options, especially if you're trying not to spend energy while fighting monster cards. So that's kind of interesting. It's a new mechanic specifically for this box, is the attaching of cards. Python Grab, 1 energy cost. Maneuver, attach this card to 1 enemy card. Reduce all damage dealt by the enemy card by 2. The enemy card loses the guard keyword for the rest of the battle. So this is actually really handy because you run into cards with guard a lot, but if you do the Python grab, you not only reduce the damage it does, but you also get rid of the guard. Now, if you could put this on a card that says guard but doesn't have a damage effect, that's totally doable, but you just, you don't lose that, you don't get that damage reduction. But that is pretty handy, and especially since it sticks around for the whole battle. Next up, Oceanus Trident, the combined form of his 2 Oceanus blades. 3 dice attack. After you resolve this attack, choose up to 3 cards from Ranger discard piles and shuffle them back into their respective decks. So basically, Eddie can be like, hey, let's go dig through your decks and find out what's up. You could do 1 card from each other Ranger if there's 3 of them. You do all 3 from 1, whatever you wish. And of course, we have Blade Blaster, now in blue. That's Eddie.
Hyperforce. Black. Ready. Power up.
So next up is Vesper Vasquez, Hyperforce Black. For effect, Cry Havoc. If there are 3 or more enemy figures in your location, reduce the energy cost of all your cards by 1. Probably one of my favorite character effects in the whole game, because basically you're going to run into a lot of enemies a lot of the time. So if there's 3 or more like that, reducing the cost by 1 is pretty handy. The Cerberus Hyperzord, Hyperforce Black. Exhaust this card to deal 1 damage each up to 3 enemy cards. Really handy to lay down some cover fire, some extra additional damage, similar to the Megazord effect of the Dino Megazord. So it's actually kind of nice to have that available. Now, of course, her combat deck. Vesper's deck is sturdy and can take heavy damage. Most of her cards have abilities based on status of enemy cards, added dice, and spread damage. So basically, Hades' technique is a maneuver, 0 energy cost. Gain 1 energy for each enemy card already defeated in this battle. This is actually really handy in late game stuff, especially boss battles, monster battles, where, for example, if you just play this, maybe if you already defeat the next card, you could have 3 or 4 energy go into your pool pretty instantly, which is awesome. Next up is Ground and Pound. Attack 2 dice. If the target of this attack is already resolved, add 1 die to this attack. So if you've already had something resolved, say like a 7 health thing, and you want to try to put as much damage as possible, you do a 3 damage attack to that, which can be pretty handy, especially monster and boss fights. Next up is Cerberus Fang, 1 energy cost, 3 dice attack, and it also has a defense status. If this card is revealed for defense, add it to your hand instead of discarding it or placing it on the bottom of your deck. Really nice, especially if you're going to take 2 damage. Suddenly, oh hey, now I got another attack card for the next turn. Koya's Shield, which is the thing I couldn't remember the name of earlier. Reaction. Play this when any ranger suffers damage to reduce that damage by 2. Then place this card on top of your deck instead of discarding it. So not only do you get to reduce the damage that another ranger's taking, or in any ranger, so it could be yourself, reduce that damage, and then you instantly have 3 shields, so you know what you're doing on your next damage turn. Next up, we have Koya's Axe. Koya's Axe. Koya's Axe. This would be the axe form of her shield. 4 dice attack. After you resolve this attack, deal 1 damage to each enemy card that is already resolved. Again, just kind of like perfect for monster battles, perfect for boss battles. This is like, alright, we already defeated 4 cards, but look, we just threw down 4 more damage on other, we've already gone through this battle. And stuff like that. Basically, she works best when in the larger battles, when there's a ton of cards going around. You also take out putties that way, or foot soldiers, and get more Zord cards, which actually could be really handy in, like, you're doing a monster fight, and she's just able to throw down the rest of the damage to kill off 3 or 4 putties. That could be the thing that gets your next Zord. And then Blade Blaster, same as usual, but now in black. So, pretty awesome. Vesper is a great team player who also just can kind of, I think, work best in that monster boss range.
Hyperforce! Yellow! Ready! Power up!
Next up, we have Jack Thomas, the Hyperforce Yellow Ranger. His effect is Steadfast. Each time you suffer damage before revealing any cards for defense, you may choose 1 card from your hand and place it on the top of your deck. This allows Jack to be quite the tank and quite the damage taker, because especially if you have it in your hand, you're like, oh, I got this 3 shield card, there's 3 damage coming up. Instantly you can have that and keep your card. You just discard your card or something like that. There's a lot of options with that effect. And then Ram Hyperzord. Exhaust this card when any ranger suffers damage to reduce that damage by 3. Again, helping out his teammates, reducing that damage. And it's any ranger, so if that's him, it's him. Headbutt. 0 energy cost, 2 dice attack. After you resolve this attack, If the target had the guard keyword, return this card to your hand instead of discarding it. This is really great because a lot of times you're targeting guard first. So if Jack gets to throw this out, defeats it, boom, card's back in your hand. And you can use that in effect, with his effect, to just throw out a 3 shield card right to the top of your deck for defense. Protect and Serve, great play on the fact that he's a Time Force cop. Reaction, when another ranger would discard a card for defense, play this card to gain 1 energy and allow the ranger to place the card on the bottom of their deck instead of discarding it. So really nice, helps out the energy pool as well as just being able to keep those cards rolling around. Next up is Ram Rush, a 1 energy cost, 3 dice attack. If this card is revealed for defense, the next time you perform an attack during this battle, add 1 die to the attack. This is a card I like to keep out when that effect is active. When it shows up and, you know, it's going to be discarded, I just kind of put it above the discard pile to remember, oh yeah, we get to have, I get to add an extra dice next time I attack, which is pretty cool. Next up is the 1 energy cost Creus Cannon. This is the cannon version of his hammer. 3 dice attack. If this attack defeats the target, deal 1 damage to an enemy card adjacent to the target. Pretty nice to spread damage around. It's also 2 shields, which is pretty good. Then lastly, we have the Creus Hammer, 3 energy cost, 5 dice attack. The next time any ranger suffers damage during this battle, reduce that damage by 2. So not only is he doing a ton of damage, if your dice rolls be kind, he's also reducing damage for his other rangers. And then lastly, of course, Blade Blaster, now in yellow. And that's Jack.
Hyperforce! Heat! Ready! Power up!
Next up, we have Chloe Ashford, the Hyperforce Pink Ranger. Impulsive. You may spend 1 energy to take the first turn in battle, even if there is an enemy card with the fast keyword in play. Really nice. You do lose an energy to that, but that does actually help out, especially if the fast keyword is pretty strong and you know that somebody's going to come up, or has something that can defeat it, I should say. Phoenix Hyperzord, Hyperforce Pink, almost said Time Force. Exhaust this card to allow a ranger of your choice to choose a card from the discard pile and return to their hand. Not too bad overall. It's kind of a little bit on the weaker side for Zords, but it actually is quite helpful. Chloe's deck features many low dice attacks, but has abilities that add damage and energy. So basically, very straightforward in a lot of ways. For example, Swift Strike. 0 energy cost. Love how she's just throwing burritos at the Tengas. That is the most Chloe thing possible. Dan Mora, you watched Hyperforce. Good job. Alright, so attack, 1 dice plus 1 damage. After you resolve this attack, if the target had a fast keyword, gain 1 energy. This works hand in hand with her impulsive ability. You put this first, you throw this out. If it's a 2 health card, something that maybe a Tango would have, you can instantly kill it. You know, or actually no, you don't have to kill it. It just, you gain 1 energy back just attacking it. So that's really handy. So those 2 effects really come into play to work well with each other. And what it means by 1 dice plus 1 damage is that whatever you roll, so if you like a roll of 1, it's going to be 2 damage total. If you roll a miss, it's going to still be 1 damage. So it's pretty good at actually getting to make sure you always damage it. Next up, Hurricane Kick. This is actually from the Shattered Grid comic. That was nice. 0 energy cost, attack 1 dice, deal the damage from this attack to the target and another enemy card adjacent to the target. So 1 dice, but you know, you can spread it around, which is pretty handy. Next up we have Accelerate, if I can pick them up. This is a maneuver. A ranger of your choice may immediately play 1 card. If it's an attack, add 1 die to that attack. This is handy. You gotta talk to your teammates, be like, alright, I'm gonna spend 1 of our energy, but, you know, one of you can play another card, and if it's an attack, we get to make it even higher. So someone has like a 5 dice attack card, and you're like, hey, play this, and then I'll play this, and then you play that, and then boom, now we got 6 dice rolling, which is really good. Here's our Hyperion bow. Again, thing I couldn't remember the name of. Also, Pink Rangers and bows. It's a thing. Attack, 3 dice, 1 energy cost. Ignore the guard keyword when choosing a target for this attack. Really handy, because a lot of guards get in the way of being able to complete a combat sequence, so this can really knock things out, especially with 3 dice. Her 3 energy cost card, don't ask me why the pink sleeves are being so hard to pick up. Hyperion Scythe, a 2 dice attack, double the damage dealt by this attack. So if you roll like 2 critical rolls and get 4 damage, you could put 8 damage. That's pretty nice. overall. And then, of course, we got Blade Blaster with the pink border. So that is Chloe.
Time Force Pink.
Next up, Jen Scott's the Time Force Pink Ranger. One of my favorite characters to play as in this game. Part of that does with her contingency effect. By the way, I love this art from Shattered Grid. This is Mighty Morphin issue 30, I think. That was from the cover. Contingency. At the start of each battle, you may choose 2 enemy cards of the same type and swap their positions in the combat sequence. So, for example, if you're fighting... we're just going to keep using Black Dragon because his cards are closest to me. So if you're fighting Black Dragon, and there is something like this in play, where you've got Fast and this, so this is going to go first, you could swap these two, and then I would allow the Rangers to go first because it would negate the Fast. That's how I understand it, that's how I play it. If I am totally wrong, then so be it, but that's how I play it, and that's kind of just how I know how to do it. So, Jen can be really quick and fast to fix up her battle. Basically, the battle will go more the Ranger's way. Time Flyer 5, which they made look really cool for being such an unimpressive Zord. Exhaust this card to allow a Ranger your choice to play a card in a battle taking place in another location as though they're in that location. Pretty straightforward. Someone's at Angel Grove High, you're at, Angel Grove Park. They can play like, oh hey, here's a card that lets me re-roll your dice. And then you're like, thanks, I used 9 dice and somehow rolled a 5. That literally, no, 9 dice and I rolled a 3. That literally happened with Jen. Speaking of Jen, Jen's deck has many leadership qualities to support Rangers, but also has many high dice attacks. She can gain and use energy to deal high damage attacks. A lot of great stuff. So Overclock, 0 energy cost, 2 dice. Discard another card from your hand, then gain 1 energy for each shield on that card. That actually can work out if you're trying to get more energy in the pool, which we'll get to later. Warp Vector, 0 energy cost. Attack, 2 dice. Choose 1 card from your discard pile and place it on the top of your deck. That can be really handy, especially if you got one of these. You can just get that good old 3 shields going. Next up, 1 energy cost, Covering Fire, Reaction. Play this card when another Ranger plays a maneuver. Roll 2 dice and deal that much damage to an enemy card of your choice. Really handy, especially when it's like, okay, I played this maneuver to get us energy, and then Jen's like, oh, hold on, let me use a little bit of energy and let's throw some damage around. 1 energy cost, Chrono Saber, 3 dice attack. If this attack defeats the target, gain 2 energy. That actually can work out. A lot of lower energy or lower health cards for foot soldiers and monsters, you can knock them out with 3 dice, and then you get 2 more energy. Next up is the Chrono Blaster, 2 energy cost, 3 damage. You may divide the damage of this attack among any number of targets. Pretty cool. It doesn't say it ignores guard, so if you have a guard out there, you can't spread the 3 damage. But it is pretty nice just to have straight 3 damage like that. And then lastly, her 3 energy cost, V5 Blaster, 4 dice attack. However, before rolling, add 1 die to this attack for each energy remaining in the shared pool. So you have to use 3 to do this, but if you've been building it up, say, gain 2 energy, gain 1 energy for each shield, that kind of thing going on, and some other effects, this could become really big. I had a 9 dice attack. 9 dice attack, and I rolled a 3. It was insane, it was ridiculous, I couldn't believe it. But this is a great card if you know how to roll dice, apparently. And that's Jen.
Nylock, back off. Jaden, don't worry. I'll handle this.
Our last Ranger is Lauren Shiba, the Super Samurai Red Ranger. Her effect, True Focus. At the end of each battle, add 1 energy to your personal storage if you do not have one already. Really handy, really nice, really cool. I do appreciate that effect, especially since you don't have to worry about recovering or powering up just to get your energy back. Bullzord, Super Samurai Red. Exhaust this card when any Ranger plays a card to reduce that card's energy cost by 1. If it's an attack, add 1 dice to that attack. Really handy, reduces cost, add to dice. Actually kind of works with Jen's effects a little bit too. My favorite card in the whole game, Discipline, 0 energy cost, Reaction. When any Ranger performs an attack, play this card to allow that Ranger to re-roll any number of dice. If only this was there when I rolled 9 dice and got a 3. That's the end of the story. Hold the Line, 0 energy cost, Maneuver. Gain 1 energy, each Ranger in this battle may draw 1 card and then place 1 card from their hand back on top of their deck. Really handy, pretty cool stuff, a lot of great things. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. Strafe Burst. Attack 2 dice, 0 energy cost. For each miss rolled during this attack, deal 1 damage to an enemy card adjacent to your target. That's actually really handy because I end up rolling misses a lot, so that's kind of what makes me really enjoy playing Lauren. Next up, 1 energy cost, Burn Out. Attack 3 dice. After rolling, you may choose 1 die from this attack and deal its damage to an enemy card adjacent to the target instead. It's an option, you don't have to do it, but sometimes you're just like, oh hey, I rolled like 3 2s, so let me just move a 2 over to this other card. Or just kind of like, it kind of works too, is that if you have more damage than you need. Spin Sword, 1 energy cost, 3 dice attack. Before rolling, you may spend any amount of energy to add that many dice to this attack. So if you got like 1 card left to beat the boss, and you just have like 5 energy sitting in the pool, use all that. Then you can throw 4 more dice in the mix, and just like, or use your personal and make it 5 more dice, and then make it an 8 dice attack, and hopefully you roll better than a 3. And then lastly, she actually doesn't have a 3 energy cost, kind of like White Ranger. She just has a 2 energy cost. Black Box, Maneuver. You may immediately play another card. If it's an attack, double the damage dealt by that attack. Pretty handy, especially since she's got 3 dice, 3 dice, 2 dice. A lot of cool stuff. But Discipline is the most handy thing to have, especially going up against the harder bosses like Lord Draken or Black Dragon or Ranger Slayer. And oh, speaking of them, we gotta go into that. But first we have a Megazord card.
Kronos Hyperforce Megazord!
The Megazord card included in Shattered Grid, of course, is the Kronos Hyperforce Megazord, a thing that people were like, what is that, when it showed up during Shattered Grid, and I said, what is that, because they really didn't have good art for the Kronos Hyperforce Megazord during Hyperforce. It's actually really cool in design and a good idea. I do think the individual Zords had a little bit more work put into their design. This kind of feels weird in a lot of ways, but it is kind of nice to have this panel from Shattered Grid just imprinted as a card. At the start of each battle, each participating ranger may search their deck or discard pile for a card and add it to their hand. If they do, they must shuffle their deck. This can be handy, just being able to get cards back, but I kind of like the Dino Megazord just throwing 1 damage on like every enemy card. It's a little bit more useful.
You picked the wrong side. It's after curfew.
So our foot soldiers for this box are the Mastodon Troopers. These guys are pretty cool. I really do like the character in Battle for the Grid. Is really fun to play as. But these are really cool design. They're the Mastodon Power Coin adapted for military use by Lord Draken. And these are kind of his enforcers, his hit squad, his perimeter guard, kind of his basic stormtrooper kind of guys. Really love the design of these. I really love the way the rifle's designed, because it does have design elements similar to the... There's some like weird plastic on here. Okay. Similar design elements to the Mastodon Power Axe for the regular Black Ranger. So it's pretty cool. I like having these in miniature form. These are kind of small because they are foot soldiers, but pretty neat overall. Now, here's the thing about the Mastodon Troopers. They have 2 new locations. Now, these are different because they are outside Angel Grove. The Resistance hideout from the world of the Coinless is actually where all of the Resistance for Lord Draken live and camp out. And it's really cool to have this as a hideout. And its effect, it's a panic limit of 5, by the way. Its effect, each time a ranger in this location uses a Zord ability, the ranger must discard the top card of their deck. So that kind of hurts. I think the whole idea behind this is that they're invading the Resistance hideout, so you end up having, or maybe more importantly, it's like you have to sacrifice a lot to be in the Resistance. So that's kind of interesting. And the other one we have is the Zord Graveyard. This presumably after the big old battle that didn't go well for the Rangers. You can actually see cool parts like Red Lightning and Mountain Blaster in there, in addition to like Tor and Titanus and Wolf, Red Dragon. Zord Graveyard is a panic limit of 6, and this effect is interesting. At the start of each action phase, choose 1 random Zord card from the box and place it at this location. Once per battle, a ranger in this location may discard 1 Zord card from this location to use its ability. So actually, if you have a lot of Zords, especially between all the boxes, you can technically use that phrase from the box as not just applying to the Hyperforce Rangers, but just all of them. And you could just have like a Zord deck essentially here that lets Rangers just kind of discard it and use its ability, which actually is pretty cool. That is a neat effect. Here is the Mastodon Trooper deployment cards. As I kind of flip through these, I'm going to read the warnings on the Mastodon Troopers that I wrote. The Mastodon Troopers work as Lord Draken's enforcers. Due to their powers being created from destroyed power coins, the Mastodon Troopers has several attacks that use dice to determine damage. And yeah, these things can hurt. I put them as a difficulty of hard, actually, because out of all the foot soldiers, I think they're the most difficult to fight. Health of 3, Blaster Rifle. Deal 2 damage to each ranger. Kind of hurts, especially when you have a big team. Health of 2, Alpha Strike. Fast. Deal 4 total damage, divide among the rangers as they choose. Kind of hurts, but kind of easy to split apart. Health of 3, Armored Assault. Guard. Roll 2 dice, and deal that much damage to a single ranger. I have a dice tower I made, and that is what I used for enemy damage, because you don't want to be the guy that rolled the 2 dice and actually rolled a 4, and then you're like, oh wow, okay, thanks, you who rolled dice. I'm not talking about myself. Dragon Cannon, health of 3, fast, drain 1 energy, each ranger must discard 1 card from their hand. This one kind of hurts a lot. It's a fast, so you're already off to a disadvantage, so kind of sucks there, but that is the Mastodon Troopers.
I've been looking forward to show you for some time. Who wants to go first?
Alright, our first monster is Black Dragon. This is Lord Draken's personal Zord. I put him as a difficulty of medium, stating, Lord Draken is an evil ranger, and as an evil ranger, he needs an evil Zord. Black Dragon is that Zord. While Draken can pilot him, Black Dragon also acts on his own agenda. Rangers may underestimate his strength due to his low health stats, but his heavy attacks will force rangers to be quick, to act, or fear losing their battles permanently. He is quite formidable, but he is not too bad to take down. This is a great figure of him. Black Dragon was interestingly first debuted because it was like the first new character in the Boom Studios comics, and then suddenly Lord Draken popped out from inside of him. We're like, oh, then he became a battleizer for Trini. So Black Dragon's had quite a history, and he looks really awesome. I do really like the design. Of course, we have his deployment card, being Black Dragon, of course on the back, Monster, same image as before, that way you can mix them in without getting them mixed up. Backs of cards, Black Dragon, nice art. Black Claw, health of 4, deal 5 damage, that just hurts, just like the Dragon Zord's face right there. Poor Dragon Zord, poor Dragon Zord. Nega Beam, health of 5, fast, each ranger must shuffle 1 random card from their hand back into their deck, then discard the top 2 cards of their deck. Yeah, that kind of sucks. You can kind of work with it because it's like you losing 1 card overall, but still, it kind of hurts since health of 5 and it's a fast. Guard, health of 4, Dragon Crusher. Deal 3 damage. The ranger who suffers this damage must discard from their hand the card with the most shields. That can hurt a lot, especially when you have some really good cards that have, you know, high shields. And lastly, Chaos Wave, health of 5, passive. While this card is in play, each time a ranger plays a card, drain 1 energy after that card resolves. Take that one out first. That one's evil. But overall, play your cards right, you can take down the Black Dragon.
Fine. I'm fine. It's nothing.
The Kickstarter exclusives included the Rebel Ranger Slayer, a good version of Kimberly from the World of the Coinless. However, this is her as the evil Ranger Slayer. Ranger Slayer is a difficulty of hard. Kimberly Ann Hart from the World of the Coinless is a formidable warrior. As the Ranger Slayer, her powers have been corrupted and she is being controlled by Lord Draken. Being a ranger, her attacks will deal damage based on dice rolls, and being the powerhouse she is, it's a lot of dice. The Ranger Slayer has her name for a reason, and rangers should be wary of her power. So of course, we have the minifigure. First figure of the Ranger Slayer ever, which is awesome. I hope we get more, because I do love her design. I do like the character a lot. She had a great redemption arc, so it's nice to see that she got an evil and good versions in the game across 2 different boxes. I do really like this a lot. Really great figure. I like the pose. It's really nice. Reminds me, well, of her main pose here, which you can see in the deployment card. And then here is her deck. As you can see, I like how the pose matches the miniature. That's very unique. So, first up, health of 4, slaying shot, fast. Roll 4 dice and deal that much damage to the ranger with the fewest cards in their deck. Pretty much a ranger killer, much like Evil Green Ranger. That's just going to be hard. Health of 4, suppressing shots, guard. Deal 3 damage to each ranger, skip the next ranger turn. By the way, this being a fast, ranger killer up front, which means they're out of the battle. Then you have guard. So the guard here, deal 3 damage to each ranger, skip the next ranger turn. That can be pretty annoying because you need to take that out first because otherwise you lose a turn. And in this battle, you need it. Thunder Kick, health of 4, fast. Get another fast. The Ranger with the most cards in their hand must discard from their hand until they have discarded at least 4 shields until they have no cards remaining in their hand. Thanks, that just takes out pretty much an entire hand of stuff that could counter. And lastly, Bow of Darkness, health of 6, deal 6 damage to the lead Ranger. It's just really hard. Very difficult to defeat her.
Bow before your lord.
Finally, we reach the boss of the game, Lord Draken. Lord Draken's a difficulty of hard. Lord Draken is very powerful and no one dares tell him different. An evil ranger himself, Lord Draken uses the corrupted powers of 2 power coins fused together. On top of being able to deal out massive amounts of damage, he's able to absorb energy from the rangers, making him stronger than before. Rangers need to come prepared for the worst when facing Lord Draken. So, very cool. I do like this figure a lot better than the Bandai Legacy one for the fact that he stands without falling over. That's a big plus. But he does have the Dragon Dagger, which is really nice. It would have been cool if he had Saba too, with the Saba without the head. But very nice designs. The first version of Draken, which makes a lot of sense. Maybe we'll see a Draken Evo 2 or Evo 3 down the road. Maybe a Draken pack, which is pretty cool. So we got really nice miniature, Lord Draken, of course boss cards. It's got Rita and friends in the back. And his combat deck, which has that famous first panel where he debuted and everyone lost their collective minds. Health of 5, Havoc Blow, Fast and Guard, deal 3 damage, drain 2 energy. That's not fun to have at the beginning. Jen can help augment this by moving it, if you wish. Health of 5, Cyclone Strike, Fast. Deal 4 damage, deal 3 damage, deal 2 damage. This is like 3 in a row hits, it's evil, it's difficult, but you can spread it amongst 3 rangers, which is the only positive. Health of 5, Thunder Slash, deal 3 damage to each ranger twice. Wow, that hurts if you have a 6-player team, I'll tell you that much. Dominate, health of 6, Guard. The lead ranger must discard 2 random cards from their hand, deal damage to each other ranger equal to the number of shields on the discarded cards. So, lead ranger loses 2 random cards, and the other rangers lose based on the shield. Luckily, there's only one of those. And lastly, Stolen Power, health of 7, passive. When this card is in play, when energy is spent or drained, place the energy tokens on this card. Each time Lord Draken deals damage, increase that damage by 1 for each energy token on this card. He actually combos because there's this drain 2 energy thing, and those go straight to that card if it's in play. And anything you use to try to fight it, if you don't defeat this, like, fast, which is hard because it's a 7 health, it's gonna hurt. Like, cause there's like the deal for like all this, like say there's like 5 energy on this, that's like 9, 8, and 7. That hurts. This is not easy. Like, he is, I listed him as hard, but I kind of been reconsidering putting him as evil hard, because yeah, he's not easy to defeat. You got to bring your A game, you got to bring your Megazord, you got to bring all your Zords. You need all your stuff, throw everything you can at him. And I said that it'd be cool to see Evo 2 and Evo 3 Draken, but at this point I realized it would be stronger, and I really don't want to deal with that. So that does it for this video on Heroes of the Grid Shattered Grid expansion. This box comes with a lot of stuff. I love having the extra location board, I love the new locations themselves, but having that extra command center tile really does change up the game a lot. Plus, adding 7 rangers, 2 more monsters, another boss, and a new type of foot soldier that's harder than the others adds a lot more challenge. This is a difficulty expansion as well as being an expansion of options, and I really do like that. This is definitely something for Hyperforce fans, for Boom Studios fans. There's a lot of correlation between those two, and definitely something to pick up if you're wanting any of these characters. There's some of these characters like Hyperforce Rangers I'm not sure are going to get other figures beyond this, so Hyperforce fans unite. This is probably your chance to get stuff, and honestly, there's no better place. So that does it for everything inside the Shattered Grid box. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see my notes published somewhere, check them out at hero-club.com. I'll be linking it in the description below so you can see what I've written about each character. And also be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe so you keep up to date with future Power Rangers videos as well as more Heroes of the Grid. There's definitely more coming. And leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see more in this game. Also, be sure to check out Ryan Darkclaw643 on Twitter at Darkclaw643. I appreciate all the thumbnails and graphics he's made for the video. Till next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.